Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Leslie Pagel. Leslie is the Chief Evangelist of Authenticx, a conversation analytics company dedicated to improving the way healthcare companies engage with patients. In this role, she creates awareness across the healthcare industry of more efficient and effective ways for healthcare organizations to develop on their customer objectives. With over 2 decades of working with customer experience teams, Leslie helps clients actualize the voice of the patient to show how these voices prompt meaningful action. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Leslie. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you much for having me.
All right, so we always like to start off by asking our guests to share a little bit about their journey. Could you share with our audience a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So my journey in customer experience started over 25 years ago, before CX and customer experience was even a thing. I spent 20 years working with large global, primarily business-to-business organizations on a new strategy for creating competitive differentiation. And that strategy was the customer experience. Over the past several decades, companies have grown to create a boardroom conversation around customer experience because it is a very productive and effective differentiation strategy. What we see over the decades is the pace of innovation has continued to accelerate, which makes it really hard for companies to compete on product alone or services alone. And no one wants to compete on price. So companies were looking for new ways of differentiating in the market, and they turned to customer experience. And so I spent the first 20 years of my career working with companies on their customer experience strategy, which largely was informed from traditional or historical methods of customer listening through large survey programs, net promoter score programs, customer satisfaction programs. And as technology has evolved and artificial intelligence has become more mainstream, we're seeing a new method that companies are leveraging for listening to their customers, which then informs their customer experience strategy. And that's conversational AI. So when you take a historical look at customer experience listening or measurement, you see that the way that we capture customer input has changed, but what we capture and listen to hasn't. We're still very survey dependent. And in the last 2 years, I've been really focusing on helping business leaders realize a different source of customer insight. And that source is not survey data. That source are the conversations that customers are having every day with businesses when they reach out to ask questions, when they reach out to make purchases, when they reach out to use the website. Customers are interacting in moments, and companies have an opportunity to listen into those moments, and the technology exists. So spent my entire career in customer experience, evolved more into a role today of helping leaders really listen to the moments of customer interactions instead of relying on survey data to keep their finger on the pulse of their customers.
All right, so you have quite a wealth of experience in that area. Now, you're primarily in the healthcare space, right?
I am now. Prior to working with Authenticx, I worked across industries, primarily focused on B2B, but then have over the past 5 years been really focused within the healthcare industry, working with payers, providers, being doctors, and pharmaceutical manufacturers, pharmacies, and in that realm of healthcare.
All right. What has your experience been? I would say let's use maybe the last 12 to 24 months as it relates to what customers are expecting. You mentioned conversational AI as a
Mhm.
way to do the data collection and less reliance on surveys. But what have the customers been saying? What are some of the trends that you've been seeing emerging? What are customers really looking for?
Yeah, I would say that, and this hasn't changed over the past 12, 18 months. They've been saying this for decades, but customers, they are saying to the organizations that they do business with that one of the best ways of demonstrating care and concern for the customer, and by the way, in healthcare, care and concern is essential in that customer experience. But customers have been saying that the best way to show me that you care about me is to listen to me, and to show me that you're listening to me by hearing what I'm saying and taking ownership of it and driving action in the business. So that's nothing new. That's been there, for decades. The other thing that's not unique to healthcare, you can see it in any business, is eliminating friction from the journey. But in healthcare, friction in the journey means a lot more. It means delayed care. It means not getting access to the care that you need. So really looking at pockets where there is friction, and that friction is impacting the patient and their ability to get the care that we need. And that also impacts business and business outcomes as well.
Indeed, because at the end of the day, you're trying to build trust and loyalty and a higher level of retention. And if they're not getting what they're looking for, then they're probably not going to come back, especially if they have options.
Exactly. Absolutely. And there are a lot of options out there. That's kind of why leaders turn to the customer experience to differentiate, as companies are innovating fast. Your product doesn't stand alone anymore. And so they are looking towards other ways of building loyalty, and the experience is the way that is where they're turning.
All right. So, in terms of using conversational AI to be a better listening tool with customers, right? Could you share maybe an example, a real life example for our listeners that you've seen the conversational AI work in such an impactful way that it transformed somebody's life or a group of people's lives?
Hmm. So the example that comes to mind immediately is we are working with a hospital system, and hospitals, this isn't unique to hospitals, across healthcare. There's a lot of focus on social determinants of health, because social determinants, research has found that social determinants have more of an impact on our health and wellness than healthcare itself. And so there's a lot of focus across healthcare organizations on understanding social determinants of health and helping patients overcome those. And so we do work with a hospital system, and one of the questions that they asked us to explore in their conversational data was related to scheduling, and why are there no-shows, or why are there reschedules. And one of the things that we found in studying just a single topic of scheduling appointments was that social determinants of health in 14% of those interactions were having an impact on getting to the care that they need. They were impacting rescheduling or missed appointments as well. So this hospital system, through that learning, one, had a different appreciation and understanding when someone is calling in to reschedule, that it might not necessarily be because they're not feeling good. It could be because their caregiver didn't show up and they can't get to the appointment, or they're working 3 jobs and they're not able to get time off. So through that insight, they have been working with their frontline staff to, one, help in those interactions when someone is calling around a scheduling appointment or rescheduling, to offer services that might help that patient in need. But they're also taking their insights that they've learned to the broader community perspective as well.
All right. So that's data-driven decisions there for sure that would help them to enhance the journey of the customer.
Absolutely.
All right. Leslie, could you also share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
So, wow. I mean, there's so many tools and resources that I use every day. I would say for the work that I do at Authenticx, which one of the things that I do is to take the bird's eye view of all of the healthcare landscape and all of the conversations that are coming through our platform, and listen more at an industry level, a macro level. And I rely on our own software to enable that perspective. So that's one of the things that I wouldn't be able to do my job if I didn't have Authenticx, because it's allowing me to listen at scale. Yannick, this year we'll have over 200 million healthcare conversations coming in through our platform. Yes, 200 million. And there's no way we would be able to understand that data at scale. A human can't do that at scale. And so I rely personally on our platform to allow myself and our team to do the research that we do to help the healthcare industry at a macro level. So that's one. I would say more on like a personal, professional side of it. LinkedIn comes to mind. I rely on LinkedIn to help spread the word, to help open the eyes of what we're doing and how conversational AI is being leveraged in healthcare to drive health outcomes, to drive business outcomes. So that's another one that's more kind of on a personal, professional side that comes to mind as well.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, could you also share with us, Leslie, 1 or 2 books that have had a great impact on you? It could be a book that you read a very long time ago, or even one that you've read recently.
Yeah. So the book, I don't have the tattoo, but if I were going to get a tattoo of a book, it would be this one. Is called Conscious Capitalism. If you and I were at a networking event, chances are before we were done talking, I would talk about conscious capitalism. Conscious Capitalism is a book, but it is a book that articulates a business strategy that is a proven business strategy with outcomes that benefit not just the company in terms of profits, but also benefit humanity and help elevate humanity. And there's some principles in conscious capitalism as a business strategy that really resonate with me and that drive how I show up in the world, both professionally and personally. And, some of those are really that for business, purpose and profit must coexist. We can't just focus on driving profit without purpose. And we won't have a company if we don't have profit. But the two of those must coexist. It really is the essence of the responsibility of business is to have a higher purpose and to generate profit for the company, for the employees, and to be able to invest back in the organization for growth for customers. The other thing that really resonates with conscious capitalism is more of a shift in mindset from short-term gains to long-term gains. Particularly publicly held companies are very focused on the here and the now, and they light of the longer-term opportunities. And conscious capitalism is really more about focusing on the long-term vision and outcomes and driving decisions in the here and now based on the vision and where the organization is going in the future. So that would be my one book, Conscious Capitalism.
Okay. So we will have the link to that book in the show notes of this episode. Can you also share with our listeners what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you are really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
So I would say the thing that I'm really excited about is I feel like where conversational today is it's not known or understood. And so the thing that I'm really excited about is helping organizations and particularly healthcare organizations understand what conversational AI is and understand how they can leverage it to drive business outcomes and patient outcomes. And so we've got several things coming up that we're working on to help kind of spread the word. One is next month, we're going to bring together healthcare leaders from across all verticals to our headquarters city in Indianapolis, Indiana, and have conversation around best practices for leveraging and listening to the voice of the customer. We're going to have conversation around the challenges that are present within the healthcare industry. So I'm really excited about that. One of the things that we know in our work is that when we really listen to customers, they'll guide the way. And we're bringing our clients and other healthcare leaders together for purposes of listening so they can help us guide the way and we can help them achieve the outcomes that they're looking for their business and for their customers.
All right. Sounds exciting. I'm sure you're really, really looking forward to that experience. And I'm sure you and your team will gain a lot of insight from those experiences as well. So,
absolutely.
Our listeners would have tapped into this episode, Leslie, and they're quite intrigued with Authenticx as well as with yourself, and they would like to connect with you online. Where is the best place to find you online?
The best place is on LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn, Leslie Pagel, Pagel, and follow me and join in the conversation. Would love it.
Awesome. All right. Before we wrap our interviews up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? If for any reason you get derailed or get off track, it kind of helps to get you back on track and get you. Do you have one of those?
So I don't know who to credit for this quote, but I guess it's more of a mindset. And that mindset is to focus more on others than to focus on yourself. And it's not to say that focusing on myself isn't important, because it is. And, that's very intentional in my life. But when I'm when I'm in a place of struggle or kind of not feeling it, just reminding myself of focusing on others more than I focus on yourself is something that really helps me redirect my attention and re-engage in the work that I'm here to do.
All right, perfect. And I think that's even more relevant, like that quote that you just shared, especially for the industry that you are in, because when it comes to healthcare, people usually are reaching out to organizations or hospitals or clinics or where, doctors' offices because they need help. They're in pain, they're experiencing something that they're uncomfortable with, and they need help. So you at that point, it's not about you, it's about them. So that's a really good quote, I think, to have and to kind of remind yourself about, especially in the space that you're operating in.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Leslie, for coming on to our podcast and sharing all of these great insights about, the voice of the customer and the importance of listening. I think, even as simple as it sounds, and as you mentioned, it's something that customers have wanted for decades, not just in the last 12 to 24 months, that we really should pay attention to the opportunities that we have, and that the greater tool that exists is conversational AI, and there are ways that we can integrate it into our everyday activities so that we can get a better understanding of what our customers are looking for. And that way we can really deliver that amazing experience that can hopefully help them to return again and again and bring their friends and family. Although we want them all to be healthy and, be good and well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I really do appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Just want to remind our listeners that you can follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX, and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.